to a playlist. Do you know, Bryce?
They gotta be added. There's
Okay.
They have to be.
Playlist thing.
I think they aren't even published automatically.
They
I've been making
are.
them public.
Yeah, if you make them public, they're published automatically. I usually by default make them unlisted, and I actually went back and made the one we just did unlisted, Quentin, so we can cover up your address. But
it really is live if you Google my name anyway. So I don't know if that's something to think about or not. Okay,
So
I did think about it. Okay, so let's just take a look at our agenda. And while I do that, think about whether there's anything that you want to talk about. I might have some questions about the data set stuff if people have ideas, especially Bryce, since you found it, you might have found an example that does something like what I want to do.
Okay.
But you might not have. That's fair if you don't. I don't see anything on our agenda yet.
Nope.
You did say you had a coding-ish question, though, before, Bryce, right? So...
Yes, yeah, I was going to add, and it's roughly just, I will likely bump the e-filing stuff to 1.0 whenever Illinois is looking like it's going to go first. We just, depending on how long the court makes us wait. But like whenever the Illinois or the appeals court, Massachusetts appeals court form goes live, I'm going to bump things out, everything like that to 1.0. And I don't know if there's other, like how, essentially, I don't know, besides for me just going through things and being like, which I feel I'm going to lean towards no for a lot of stuff. But if there's anything else I should try to do to get feedback on, should I try to add this for a 1.0 release, or should I not and do something else? I don't know. So.
Is that a good summary? So there's some features that aren't there that you might want to, you're trying to figure out if you should make those be part of the 1.0 before you give it the 1.0 number?
Yeah, pretty much. Like how much polish do we want on a 1.0? So.
I don't think we've ever had a really good criteria for what makes it 1.0. So I think if we still follow SEMVer, like a 2.0 would be a breaking change, right?
Yeah. Mostly the biggest thing is like what we think, things that we think might be breaking changes. I would prefer to just do them now before everything goes live. Whereas instead of do this and then, in 3 months or 4 months or whatever, we make a breaking change and then also have to change the like two to three existing interviews. Just because I feel like at this point, it's not going to be an easy, let's get people on or let's fix interviews. Like I don't think we quite have I don't think we have the momentum to get people to change their interviews. I think we will have to like help out with Matt, and we'll obviously have to change our own Massachusetts ones to update them for major breaking changes. So just avoiding any quick major breaking changes is probably what the emphasis there. Really
I would say if we think that our changes will break existing interviews, we should be at 1.0 so that people can use the differentiation between 1.0 and 2.0 to avoid those breaking changes.
But I don't think they'll have an option but to upgrade, right? Because we're not going to maintain, we have the only e-filing proxy server.
Yes.
It would still give them a little time.
Both.
But it would still give them a little time.
Only if we were running two versions of the server, I think, right?
Yeah, and
which we don't intend to
got
do.
it.
We are, but they're essentially dev and prod. So
okay, got it.
I trust your judgment on there, though, Bryce. But what kind of things would you want to like get insight into to help make your mind up, though?
That's a good question. I feel like mostly it's a combination of our favorite things, naming issues, and just naming things. since I've been trying to go through and clean up some of them because some of them were absolutely horrible and just random things I had added to try and get Tyler's stuff to work. But now that I'm trying to take a step back, it's like, well, I can make better names, and I've been trying to make some better names. But some parts of them are naming things, and then the other parts are like how usable or not usable, but like the only really big breaking changes that I think that will be an issue are the actual proxy side server stuff and not the like docassemble Python code that we have. And I think the only thing there is like features that we want polished out. Like I know at one point, Quentin, you had said like we essentially spit back a whole bunch of JSONized like XML that we just get directly. And we can try and spit it back into XML, but would be a breaking change on both sides. And so like, is that a thing that we think we should do now? Or are the little ad hoc parsers that I've written on our Python side good enough like for that sort of stuff? So like it's a lot of smaller questions like that, I think.
What if we go to like a 0.9 and just say, hey, we realize we might want to refactor this stuff later. And I think we can stay at 0.9 for a long time. And then when you feel really
well, the thing is, I don't want to be at 0.9 when we have production interviews. Like if we have one production interview that is using it, I want to go to 1 because that's what it is. We're at production, and someone that is not like a legal aid expert or someone working with the assembly line is using this interview. Like, I don't want it to feel like it's or look like it's in beta when it's not. So,
okay.
But I get the idea. So maybe it's just sort of, we go to 1.0 and then we'll eventually have to make a 2.0 whenever we are on 5 states and there's so much craft slowing us down. Let's fix some of these things. Okay.
I think it's okay to defer the pain because you've also been so into this. I think you'll have better insight into what you like and don't like in 6 months when you haven't been having to deal with like lots of small refactors every day.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
So I would say don't try to add new features just to get them into the version number. That's my suggestion.
Okay, that sounds fine.
Okay, well, my data set question's not that big really, but I was just thinking through, I'm actually really curious what the regular Form Explorer without a suffix in the name is. I don't know. It wasn't available for me to use as a name for my app. So let me just check and see what it is. I wonder if it's something David was trying. It feels like a really specific name for an app.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if someone, I wouldn't be that surprised if it wasn't David because it's kind of generic, but okay. Anyway, it's a broken app. So did you run into this at all, Bryce, when you were exploring dataset? Like I want to have a page that basically is one query where I set up the search to, instead of just being every column, here they are. Did you run into that or have good examples of pages that you thought were similar to what we might want to do?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
But okay, so it's just to show, or just to filter out all of the like, here's the whole text of everything and here's the original fields and stuff.
There's a couple things. It's like, okay, so we want to show people their results a little differently, right? Like we don't want the URL to be like, it's clickable, which is great, but we also want it to not, it'd probably be nice if it were a button instead.
I see, okay.
It does, I saw there's a way to make it render HTML, but we don't really want to make it render HTML. We want to make it render a really specific thing from the HTML. Maybe we do that in SQL. Or maybe we want to have a page that lets you see find related forms or something, right? Like where it runs a query from the data that's in the row. They're not that complicated of things yet. But it's like it's things manipulating this that I want to let people get to easily. without having to know SQL. I started trying to find this in the documentation, and I can just try doing this here. But yeah, if you found any, basically any good sites, I noticed like one of the data set demos had other kinds of visualizations and stuff. I saw like right away in the documentation how to add your own custom pages, but I didn't see how to make those pages use the queries that you built yet. Maybe it's there and I just didn't find it. I'm sure it's there somewhere actually. Visualization, see, this is a visualization plugin. Do we need to write our own plugin for it? That's what I wasn't sure.
Yeah, we might have to. For stuff like that.
I'm not sure how well kind of visualization would be helpful. Like maybe we could have a visualization where people see how many forms each state has or whether they're good or bad forms. Maybe. Not good or bad isn't really right, but
yeah, I get what you're going for there at least.
Okay, well, I'll just explore then. I wasn't sure if you'd run into anything.
Yeah, no, honestly, I haven't too much there.
Anything else that people think could be good for coding deep dive? We could end pre-burnout if there's anything that's fine.
I can't think of anything. But...
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we definitely touched on stuff that could have been coding discussion if we didn't have anyone else for admin meeting, but we did. I think it was good to get the broader perspective on it. So feel good about our meeting today too. And see everybody on Friday. Talk before then.
All right.
Sounds good. See you.
See ya.